All right, I'm with Mr. Daniel Amiri. Pleasure meeting you.
Likewise, pleasure's all mine.
Many thanks for having me in your beautiful boutique.
My pleasure.
In Dubai now for a minute.
Yeah, I've been here for 4 years.
Dubai to you was a watch footfall. You came in here like, I'm gonna come here and set up the watches.
I came here due to tax reasons in the beginning. So, and it's all a little bit blurry because I came here to open a company and go back to Sweden. I had no plans of staying.
Yeah.
So what happened was I came here, I booked for 3 days to open company, go back, and do my things. But it took me 1 week, then 2 weeks, then 3 weeks. 3 weeks became 2 months and started getting to know people, learning the market, saw the opportunity, stayed another 6-7 months. And I've actually not been back in Sweden since.
That's what's not apparent when you're in Europe, because when I was in Europe, people don't know how big the watch community is on our side of the world.
Yeah, of course. And not even that, there's more money here. And the culture is different. Here you're allowed to show.
Yeah.
People appreciate you enjoying your stuff. In Sweden, we have a thing called jantelagen. It means that you should never show yourself above anyone or under anyone. Everything should be like straight and nothing. You shouldn't be more than...
the safety aspect as well.
So it's a big difference.
It is.
It's a big difference. In Sweden, I've been doing this now for 13 years. Professionally, 8 years.
Yeah.
But I've been collecting and stuff. That's a fun story as well.
Yeah.
But in Sweden, the most we would sell is a 5711 steel, 5980 steel.
Okay.
Compared to here, it's the total opposite.
Let's backtrack a little bit. So you got into watches. What was that first brand that kind of did it for you? I mean, Rolex is kind of unified across the scene. So what else? Was it Rolex or something else?
It was Rolex. Okay. It was Rolex. But I've always had an interest of watches. I always found watches fascinating. And I remember when I was a kid, we're into a store with my dad and I got a watch that was waterproof. And I had it with me everywhere. I was showering with it, sleeping with it, everything. Fast forward, I was dancing breakdance, as I told you off camera. And I won the Swedish championship when I was 13. So I got some prize money. We got a Sweden tour where we made a good amount of money for being that age. I made like $13K.
Okay.
Equivalent of
that. Not bad for back then.
In one summer as a kid.
So just like millionaire type of mindset back then.
You could buy your PlayStations The first thing I did was I walked in, and I still remember this. I walked into a Rolex store, a grey market dealer, and I told him I want a Rolex.
Yeah.
I never forget, he just laughed at me because the counter was here.
Yeah, yeah.
He just laughed at me. He's like, come back when you're older. And there was one guy there. This guy came to become my mentor later on.
Oh, wow.
This guy looked at me, we exchanged numbers. I went and met him afterwards and he gave me my first Rolex. And that's when I bought my first GMT. Okay. Back then it was $5,000, $5,000. 50,000 Swedish.
Is it a GMT Coke or?
It was it was a GMT Steel. The regular one, 116710.
Okay. Okay.
Old reference.
Yeah, yeah. That's the one with the green GMT.
The green hand, yes.
Black bezels, ceramic bezel. Yeah, it's actually one of my favorites, to be honest. I think it's one of the best OG GMTs.
I love it. I just bought one yesterday.
Yeah. And they're reasonably priced. They're not crazy at all. Like, they're actually closer to what the retail used to be.
Right now, they're around 40K dirhams.
Yeah. Cost? Yeah. That's actually below what a GMT would cost you today. Yeah. At retail as well.
So I still love that watch.
But you've obviously evolved in taste. I see a ceramic AP on the wrist.
Yeah.
This is beautiful, man.
The perpetual calendar. So this is a perpetual calendar, open work black ceramic AP.
Yeah.
This is a stunning watch.
This is the dawn of it.
It's a little more subtle.
Yeah.
I don't like to be too flashy with my watches.
Right.
And I just love the way the open work, the movements look, especially on a perpetual calendar.
Absolutely.
It ticks all the boxes for me.
100%. I mean, AP, obviously, like, leave the historical aspects aside because we all know this is a Genta design signature. I personally own a few Royal Oaks on the steel side, a brand they used to dabble with. But outside of me and my personal feelings, like, I think the way that AP machines ceramic is like next to nobody, man. Yeah. Honestly. I mean, Octofinissimo, obviously, Bulgaria, they did a few interesting things, but with AP, it's really different. It really is. That's awesome. Is that your favorite brand?
No. I would say Richard Mille.
Richard Mille. Okay.
And I like it because
people will snipe us in this video. You know,
I know.
There's going to be a lot of people are going to be like, Richard Mille, what?
That's the thing I want to get into because I come from. So I had several businesses in Sweden, and one of my the one I always have the most love for is the marketing. The marketing, I love marketing, and for me, the way Richard Mille packaged it, branded it, it's different.
Yeah.
So if you compare these two, this is horology.
Yeah.
At its finest.
Sure.
Compared to this is marketing at its finest.
It really is.
And that's what I like about it. It's like the young kids now doing their NFTs, and I always compare these with old school NFTs. That's what they are. And so that's why I appreciate Richard Mille.
No, I mean Richard Mille is next to nothing when it comes to their shock resistance level. When it comes to how they play with depths in such a thin case. I'm a sucker for thin cases. I own a 6702. Obviously not as sought after as this, but it was primarily because how thin it is.
Yeah.
So in that aspect, Richard Mille is a king. Richard Mille is a marketing king. Scarcity is always associated with value, and he was one of the very early people to realize that. Right.
Yes.
So this is the thing that people don't get. But when it comes to the second the side of the equation, people would tell you, but you know what? They're not a historical brand, and they're young, and you know. And
he came in and
you like it for these prices as well.
We compared this the other day. We're sitting with the red mask in our hands, and we're looking at it, and we said, if this wasn't a Richard Mille, we wouldn't even look at it. If it was a, now I'm gonna hate, but if it was a Philly Plain, it's the name, and he's done it well.
He did.
He's done it very well. Just look at the people he collaborated with.
It's nuts. Yeah, runners.
Sebastian Ogier, Kimi Räikkönen, the people. He's in the top leagues of people.
Celebrity endorsement and sport endorsement. Obviously, there was a time where that was the way forward.
Yeah.
But everyone is doing it now. Everyone. Do you feel like the future for Richard Mille will continue to look bright, leveraging the same type of endorsement? Or do you, I mean, as a Richard Mille lover, what would you suggest?
If I knew I would be a billionaire.
Okay.
But me personally, I hope they drop.
Yeah.
I tell that to everyone because I'll be buying more of these.
Yeah.
Because right now, also, if you think about it from now we're damaged because we're in the watch industry. Yeah. Wearing a 400,000 watch for us on a daily basis is normal. But thinking about it from a normal person's perspective, it doesn't make sense.
No.
Like the top of the line, if you're normal, it's Daytona, Daytona Rose. Yeah. Then after that, it doesn't make sense.
Right.
Then it's just collecting art pieces.
Sure.
That's why I'm kind of drawing the line between the watches and NFTs and art, because that's basically what it is. Yeah. You have these pieces that are 18-piece limited, 50-piece limited. Yeah. So basically, what you're buying is a piece of art. Indeed. Both in form of craftsmanship behind it, behind the movement, the R&D behind it, and also the availability. Yeah. So it's something between that and the supply and demand and the marketing. So
the one thing that stood out for me outside of Richard Mille's marketing, when you talk about the context of innovation, because it used to be the Harry Winstons and bridging basically art and innovation, because they had all these quirky designs, is how shock resistant their watches is. Yeah. Because mechanically speaking, you're not really supposed to play sport.
No.
With a mechanical watch, you're just going to screw up the movement, right? But so to me, that's the one thing that stands about Richard Mille. And then the second thing I was telling you about earlier is like when I look at this is how they play with depths. Yeah. Like there's almost no space to do anything. Skeleton eye see-through, but it's just interesting how they've done it.
And the weight of it.
And the weight.
32 grams on this one.
This is nuts, bro. I see a big hitter at the back there for Richard Mille. I mean, maybe you want to tell us about this as well.
This is the 5004. This one actually has a meter on it. It counts G-force.
Yeah.
So when you're sitting in the car, you can see it's like a G-force meter. Yeah. Which is, and I think it's also a split second.
It is a split second as well at the same time.
Yeah.
And you also have a power reserve indicator.
Correct.
On it. And moving away from Richard Mille, your favorite brand, and getting into another brand that is also one of my favorite brands, but this one is a little bit special.
This one is different.
I peek at this Daytona and I'm like, you know what? This is the Platinum Arabic
TBR.
Of course, 100% off catalog.
Yep.
This is an awesome watch, a beautiful watch. I've once had the entire lineup. I had this in hand. I had the Arabic numeral without the diamonds. I remember when I was seeing them, they were for like 1.2, 1.3 million dirhams.
Correct.
Are they still around that?
Today they're around 1.4.
1.4. They've gone up.
Yep.
Any idea what would have been the retail or something like that?
Oof, no idea. I'm not a VIP client.
Because they're off catalog.
They don't even let me into the boutiques.
They're off catalogs, though,
Yeah,
right?
correct. These are very rare. The reason I chose this to show on the camera is because this is what I call the final boss.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't get when you have this one. When you get this one from Rolex,
Yeah.
you're done.
Yeah. You were really
This
done.
is the last piece to your collection.
Yeah.
Your Rolex collection.
Yeah. Putting this aside, there was a Daytona right next to it that I'm seeing. I've seen this in pictures.
Yep.
This is the first time in my life I see this. I mean, I'm a big fan of Artisan de Geneve, but maybe you tell us about it.
So this one is called the Honey Green Challenge. It's a collaboration, or it's not a collaboration. It's a remake from Artisan de Geneve.
Yeah.
And they made this one to look like the old school Daytonas.
Yeah.
That's why the backlight bezel is back. They remade the dial. They took out the crown guards.
Yeah.
And they made the pushers vintage looking, which makes it look absolutely stunning.
Sick. It's really
And the full link is brushed,
Yeah. Yeah.
so it looks different.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, they made this one on the John Mayer dial.
Of course.
Beautiful.
That's nuts.
It's rumored that there's only 20 out in the market.
Of these.
Yeah. This is also one of those, I don't even know if I would take an offer on it.
And what they did with it's almost like satin gold, you know? Because they brushed everything.
Correct.
You don't get the center polish links as you would get with the John Mayer.
Yeah.
The green hue is actually nicer than the hue of the green on the John Mayer.
Yeah, much.
Pushers protrude. So, vintage design, Daytona 6263 type of language.
Correct.
I like that. Would this change your mind from Richard Mille being your favorite brand? And
Yeah, definitely.
because this is what
This is unique.
fun, right?
Then it becomes like that. 20 out, no one has it, no one sees it.
Yeah. And I think also the connotation about Artisan de Geneve back in the days is that, you know, they're missing out about with watches and stuff. The reason why Rolex is not even going after companies like that, like what they did with the company that was doing the colorful dials in California.
Was it Blaken or who was it?
The California, that's what it was called.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, the California. So these guys basically took Oyster Perpetual.
Yeah.
I stopped playing around with colors and dates. You know, they said people thought it was bringing watches into the Stella dial colors like back in the day.
Correct.
But they were doing it on Oyster Perpetual.
Yeah.
Rolex shot them down.
And then they released their own collection of it. Yeah.
So it's innovation that they couldn't even think of. And I see this. Artisans de Geneve actually did the case back open since the Blue Zay project from a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Now
we're getting it on the platinum ones.
Yeah, they're getting on the platinum ones. Who knows? Maybe we'll see them on the steel. Daniel, thanks a lot for showing us around. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
It's an awesome place. Where can people find you? I mean,
at 77 Watches on Instagram. I can give you the link below. I'll just put the links so you can follow.
For sure. Awesome. We'll do that. Thank you, bro.
Pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.